the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name's Mike Harrison. I appreciate you tuning in today. I have a bit of a mixed bag on the show for you. Hope you can stick with me throughout the duration. Essentially, this show comes at you by request. I'm doing this show. One of our listeners asked me, he said, "Hey, Harrison, how come you guys never talk about investment mistakes you've made along the way?" I didn't want to argue with him. At times, I'm more than happy to share some of the, let's just say, potholes that I've stepped in here and there. But yes, we do make mistakes on our investment paths. So I'm going to do that on today's show and just share with you. And if one of you listening to me today can avoid making the same mistake, then this show was well worth it, my friends. But I've heard a lot of people, they have said on the show that, hey, you guys really make it sound super easy, that real estate investing that you do. And it's whether it's my show or Al Gordon or Andy Webb, they say, hey, you make it sound really easy. And I'll say this, for the most part, it really is easier. It is easy. It gets easier and easier because we're repeating a process. Let me say that again. We're repeating a process. We've been educated. We understand our strategy. And essentially, it's all about execution of the strategy. But does that mean that there aren't hiccups along the way? Of course there are. We're not perfect investors. We're still learning. I'm still learning every day. Occasionally, we take a hit. Well, let me say this. All of these are avoided. And you'll hear as I describe these mistakes, all of these are totally avoidable. But occasionally we do take a hit. Some people take a lot more than others, quite frankly. People not following a plan, or they're always the smartest one in the room, right? No, I'm going to do it like this. There's plenty of folks out there that really don't make many mistakes at all. But before I dig into those mistakes, I do want to share for the remainder of this segment, I want to talk about the concept of house money. And I want to talk about it in the terms of a family office, because that's really what we're doing. We're creating this nest egg, essentially, that's going to generate cash flow. And we're going to live off the cash flow, but continue to grow this house money. We're going to continue to grow this snowball. Now, what do I mean by house money? I think most of you are familiar with the term, and it originated in casinos. But just a little background. Let's say you're playing $25 blackjack. You sit at the table, you play a hand, you win that hand, you're now plus $25, and your original $25 bet is still on the table. Well, reach down, take that $25 chip, put it in your pocket. You're now even, right? You've got your $25 back, but you continue playing with that other $25 chip that you won. That is house money. You continue playing with those winnings. But how does this correlate to real estate? We invest for cash flow. That is our number one reason. That is the reason behind every deal we get into, whether it's a single-family home, an apartment community, or even a passive in an apartment deal. And that takes money to invest in that deal. We put it in the deal. Again, whether it's single-family home, apartment community, or as a passive. And we live off of the cash flow. And as we save more, we invest more. Or as the sale of the assets occurs, we don't spend any of that money. We put it all back into other assets. As a refinance comes, we don't spend any of that. We put that into more assets. We reinvest those funds. So it comes out of one deal and it goes back into 2, 3, 4 deals. So the amount you have in the game, so to speak, becomes greater and greater. That's your house money. That money is never intended to be spent, ever. And I'll describe that. Just last week's show, you can find it on the Lifestyles Unlimited website or on the podcast. I had Michael on the show, who is a very successful passive investor in apartment communities. He has money, fifth generation money, that is in deals now. Fifth generation money. Think about that. And you can find that show again at the Lifestyles Unlimited website. Michael, he's an incredible passive investor. My intentions are to never spend the house money. That money is the machine that provides the monthly and quarterly dividends, the cash flow. When I pass, that house money will be managed by my wife. When she goes, the house money will be managed by my children. That's my legacy. That's the inheritance. Andy Webb just did his show a couple weeks ago. You can find it. It's all about inheritance. What's interesting is that 40% of people plan to leave an inheritance. 20% actually do. And the big bust of them all is 70% of millennials expect an inheritance. There's a disconnect there. But the intentions are to add more dollars to the invested funds annually, and as such, enjoy greater and greater cash flow, more refinances, more sales of assets. It is a true cash flow snowball, and that snowball should never be chipped away. That's my plan. Now, there's other people who get late in life, and they say, I'm done, and I'm going to spend on it. That's okay. It's their choice. That's fine. But that's what I'm doing now, is creating that house money, that nest egg. And I've added to it significantly this year, more than I had imagined I could just a couple of years ago. And the year is only half over. But my friends, you see how our plan to create this house money, this cash flow snowball, and then never touch it, is totally opposite from people who save for retirement. They save, then they bleed that bag of money down and hope they never exhaust the savings. Do you see the difference? My name is Mike Harrison. We'll be right back. I'm going to dig into some of the mistakes I've made investing. This is the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. My name's Mike Harrison. This is the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. And yes, we're always working on your financial freedom. If you have a question, I get plenty of emails each and every week from our listeners. I do respond personally. My email address, reach out to me. There are no silly questions. I get questions from very savvy real estate investors that have been doing this for a lot longer than I have, and I get questions from people who are trying to get started, have not started, or who have just started. But the bottom line is I'm here to help you. Ask Mike at luinc.com. Ask Mike at LU, which stands for Lifestyles Unlimited, Inc., INC.com. And you do not have to be a member of Lifestyles Unlimited to reach out to me. So again, any question you have, any issue you have, bounce it off me. If I don't know the answer, I'll put you in touch with someone who does. So by request, I was on a Zoom call with several investors, real estate investors, a couple weeks ago. And one of them said, you guys never talk about mistakes you make. I would like to hear some mistakes in your show. And I thought to myself, I've kind of mentioned it, but yeah, what a great show. We do need to share that because we're not perfect investors. We're going to make mistakes along the way, mistakes that could have been easily avoided, where you just kind of look in the mirror and go, good grief, what the heck happened there? That was ridiculous. You learn from it and you move on and you become a better investor because of it. Many times it's a mindset mistake, or because we're not thinking, or we get in a hurry, or we drag our feet. Both of those are bad. Why am I sharing this? Because if you're tuning in, if you're listening to me, and you hear something that you might do, even if it's you hear this show and then 2 years later you're like, nope, I remember Harrison did that once and it cost him $4,000. So we're going to hear some of that stuff. And we don't mind sharing it. It's an abundance mentality mindset. Understand that too. Abundance mentality mindset. Wealth is created. If I make $1, it doesn't mean someone else lost $1. Not at all. Wealth is absolutely created. Those who subscribe to the abundance mentality do not mind sharing. And that's what we do here at Lifestyles Unlimited. Now, prior to these mistakes, there is one other thing I need to say. There is a difference between issues and mistakes with any investing format that you follow. If you're a stock person, if you're a bond person, mutual fund, IRAs, what have you, you'll have issues. We have issues occasionally in real estate. They're going to happen. It's going to happen. But the thing is, have a plan or have someone you can call and say, hey, here's what I'm up against. What do I do? So here's an issue I had. 4 years ago, I had to evict a resident. Now, some of you savvy investors out there listening to me, and they're like, Harrison, you didn't do the screening. You didn't do your homework. You didn't properly vet or screen the resident. That's why you went through the eviction. And let me tell you what. Nothing could be further from the truth. If I had not performed the screening and rented to a Purple Martian, yes, that would be a genuine mistake, and we'd be talking about that. That would be, move that to the mistake column. No, this was an issue. That was not the case. This resident was heavily screened. In fact, we leased the property to a married couple, and at the time, this couple had decent credit. Not bad, not excellent, but better than most, put it that way. Their income was excellent. They more than qualified for the lease. For 15 months. In fact, they released after the first year, got a little bump on the rent. 15 months, everything went smooth. They were never late. Out of the blue, rent is not paid. Now, this has never happened to this couple before. Have I had it happen with other folks? Sure, it happens. Typically, rent gets paid 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days later, plus the late fees, no big deal, move on down the road. Anyway, we made the notifications. Nothing. Didn't get anything. Resident goes quiet. We knock on the door. The phone calls stop getting answered. We get to day 6, 7, 8, 10. Month's half over with. This person's not going to pay the rent. So we moved to evict. But what happened here? Why? Divorce. And the problem with divorce is that each party goes to war with the other. It is always ugly. I know this firsthand, not from my married life, no, but my father was married 4 times. I've seen the anger and the spite. What was this man doing by purposely getting evicted? He had the money. It's not that he lost the job. He was upset. It was emotional. He decided, I will destroy my credit, and at the same time, I'm destroying my wife's. Divorce is ugly, my friends. That's exactly what they did. We got the eviction. He moved out on the last day he could, left the home in decent shape. We did a quick make ready. I rented the home 10 days later. That was an issue, not a mistake. Okay, mistake number 1. What was the first mistake I made within my real estate investment path? Well, the first one I made was I bought my first rental property in a self-directed IRA. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that have self-directed IRAs and you have homes within them. And maybe that's good for you. But I'm going to tell you there's a better way to do it. There's a lot of reasons involved. There's a lot of spinning items to consider. But you can be much more effective buying that home outside of the self-directed IRA. Frankly, at the time, I wasn't educated. I didn't know any better. I can look back, hindsight's 20/20, and go, that was a mistake. But I can also look back and go, I'm so happy I learned. And I'm not going to go into all the reasons. There's an entire show. And yes, I did an entire show, May 30th, 2021, just a month ago. 5 issues owning real estate within a self-directed IRA. It is not your best move, my friends. Not your best move. There are better ways to do it, but if you want to dig into that show, you can find it at the Lifestyles Unlimited website, click on the radio button, scroll all the way down to the bottom, search bar, type in Mike Harrison. You'll find that show. But yeah, my mistake here, I was following the wrong map to financial freedom. Again, an IRA is designed for you to retire at the earliest at 59 and a half. So if you're wanting to retire when you're 40 and you're putting homes in a self-directed IRA, you've already told yourself you don't want to retire at 40. If you want to retire at 45, no. The IRA is designed for you to retire at the earliest at 59 and a half. But I didn't know any better. I thought, there's my pile of money. That's how I need to buy this property. And I bought a really nice property within that self-directed IRA. Moved forward. Still made money. Yeah, we still made 9% at the end of the day. It's just we could have done it much better. So they're going to push this out. But mistake number 2, we're going to come back and address it. And it's the fact that I really dragged my feet on buying rental homes within the Lifestyles Unlimited model, even though I knew the model. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about that. My name is Mike Harrison. This is the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in with me today. My name is Mike Harrison. This is the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Today I'm sharing some of the investing mistakes I made along my investing path, and these were not massive setbacks by any way, shape, or form. At no point did I ever question my strategy or the fact that I switched from trying to save for retirement within a 401k to buying cash-flowing assets in a real estate investment model. I never questioned that model. I made a few mistakes along the way, a few hiccups, let's say. They were all overcome, but they were all 100% avoidable. I'm sharing them with you today. Hopefully you can pick something up here and carry that with you and not make the same mistake. So I mentioned I had bought my first rental home in a self-directed IRA. I didn't really realize, I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew I wasn't that effective, that I could have been much better. So I sought out a real estate mentoring and educational group. I was lucky enough to find Lifestyles Unlimited on the radio and on the website. Eventually joined Lifestyles Unlimited in April of 2013. Began my education piece in May of 2013. I took my financial freedom seminar, and that's our 2-day seminar. It's 16 hours long. We are doing those back in person again now. We had to do them live stream via COVID. They're still live stream. You can still do that if you wish, but you can also attend in person. I recommend the in person. It just sinks in a little deeper. But at this particular class, Dell Walmsley himself was teaching the class here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And Dell, if you don't know Dell, he's big, he's bold. He does not provide a lot of noise when he talks. He cuts straight to, this is how it is, and this is what you need to do. He's a very direct man. So I took that class, and there I am, May, and by October, I bought my first house. But what happened between May and October? I said no 6 times. No. I mean, I'd go through the process and the screening and everything, and it made sense. And I was just being too analytical. I was just being too type B. And I'm kind of a Jekyll and a Hyde. Sometimes I'm a type B, sometimes I'm a type A, but I was really just trying to hit a home run, and all these homes were home runs. It was my first one. And I really want to thank, there's a realtor at Lifestyles Unlimited. His name's Sam. And Sam turned me on to this house in October, and I drove out to look at it. And this house, and you may have heard me discuss it on the show, and it was a beater. There was a lot of issues with this house, and I started crawfishing. I called Sam on the phone, and he literally said, look, let me tell you something. I'm telling you this as a friend. if you don't buy this house, I've got 10 people right now that will take the deal. And the truth was he probably had 20 people that would take the deal. To this day, I'm ever grateful to Sam. I purchased the home. I had a great GC that held my hand like a third grader and walked me through the process. We fixed everything. We never had an issue with that home, at least immediately. Cash flowed just under $550 a month. This was way back when, in 2013. I mean, we were making some money on this home. In fact, I sold it 4 years later to another Lifestyles Unlimited member who had 1031 money to invest. But what was my mistake? Mindset. Mentally, I didn't have enough faith in myself to execute this new mode of investment, this new mode of moving forward. I knew this was right, but keep in mind, I was leaving the world of Dave Ramsey, Money Magazine, 401k Boy Scout, and I was going down this new path of buying and rehabbing and renting single-family homes. It was a completely different endeavor. I did not act quickly enough, even though I was educated, and I knew I was doing it right. Now, brief story, I touched on that 2-day financial freedom seminar. I want to say two things about that. Early on in the class, first 10 minutes, Dale says, turn to the back of your book, and you turn all the way to the back of your book, and it's a blank page. And Dale says, write this down. I will not do what Dale says. So everybody writes it down, and I'm like, what the heck? And he says, some of you are going to make some mistakes out there, and when you do, I want you to turn to that last page of the book and see that you didn't do what I told you. And that holds true today. In that same class, I'm so excited, right? Keep in mind, I'm the guy who's got the home in the IRA, the self-directed IRA. I looked around the class. I felt like, wow, I'm kind of ahead of these folks. I'm actually one of the few people that actually has a real estate investment. Again, this was May of 2013. But Dale's talking, and he says, hey, I've got a large SUV. If anyone wants to ride to lunch with me, I can take 3 people. And I was front row, so my hand shot up. Hey, yeah, I'd like to ride. And I wanted to ride with Dale. I knew there'd be some conversation, and I was eager for information. And so 3 of us jumped in, and Dale's kind of making small talk. I'm in the back seat, and he's going around, yeah, who are you? What are your plans? Where do you see yourself? Blah, blah, blah. He gets to me, and I'm like, hey, I've got a $200,000 paid-for house in a self-directed IRA, and it rents for $1,850 a month, and it's super nice. And he just kind of looks in the rearview mirror, and our eyes met, and he says, you're making a huge mistake. You need to cash out that IRA immediately and start using our model to buy homes. And I literally, it was like I just took a gut punch, because for 20 years, and I knew he was right, and for 20 years I had been thinking I was doing the right thing to retire and create wealth. And I knew in that moment I'd been doing everything wrong, totally been doing everything wrong. Now, did I immediately go sell that IRA? No. But eventually I did. Not too soon after, but it weighs on you. You think about that. You think about it, and you think about it, and eventually you say, you know what? I could do so much better. Now, there is a educational opportunity coming to Irving, Texas, right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and typically this is held in Houston, but this is our Lifestyles Unlimited Wealth and Passive Income Expo, and it's Friday and Saturday, September 3rd and 4th. That's Labor Day weekend, okay? Labor Day weekend. Make plans now. If you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're going to want to attend this expo. If you need more information, that's the Wealth and Passive Income Expo.com, and I can save you $97 off any pass or package. Just use promo code Mike, and you will save $97 off of any of the pass or packages. But if you're even remotely interested in real estate investing, or you're just now starting your path, I literally want to encourage you to get out, because there's going to be breakout classes where you can learn everything from taxes to property management to how to begin passive investing in apartment communities. But bigger than that is you can network with like-minded individuals that are going down the same path you are, and many that have started before you have. But again, it's those folks that we lean on that have helped me not make mistakes. I'm telling you about the mistakes that I've made, but again, I can do 5 shows on mistakes that I didn't make because I asked somebody, or I had a mentor, or I had Lifestyles Unlimited education to provide the model of investing. So that show would be 5 times bigger than this show. But again, if I can save any of you the trouble of avoiding those mistakes, then that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing today. So my third mistake, I'm going to call it the unnecessary refi. And that one may sound a little bit complicated, and we're going to pick it up on the other side and go through. But essentially, I had to refi because one of my mortgage companies told me that I made a pretty serious mistake in the process, and they weren't happy about it at all. In fact, I got a letter in the mail, and it said, you need to pay me off right now because of this, and you owe me $112,000. So my friends, you haven't lived until you got a letter like that in the mail. But let me tell you what I did and how I overcame it. My name is Mike Harrison. This is the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. My name's Mike Harrison. I want to thank you for joining me today. We're talking about some real estate investing mistakes that I've made on my journey of buying assets and creating cash flow, both single-family homes and apartment communities. That's what I do. How to learn to do it. Lifestyles Unlimited. 7 years ago. I'll never look back. I still have a few of my single-family homes, and I'm a partner, as of this week, of over 2,700 units throughout Texas. So, mistake number 3. The unnecessary refinance. I touched on it at the end of the last segment, and this one's a bit complicated, but if you'll follow me, when I started real estate investing, I was slow to act. Once I had my game plan, I was slow to act. I was over analytical, but by 2015, all that had changed. I was on what you might call full-on mode. I was buying houses as fast as I could. Now, I was not an established long-term real estate investor. Mortgage companies did not want me buying more than one house at a time. It's a detail that at some point I overlooked. And this was a problem for me because the way I was buying the properties was essentially I'm buying a home that is dilapidated, and I would utilize hard money. I would rehab that home. I would rent it. And then I would refinance out of the hard money into a conventional loan, into a stable 30-year Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan. And that process was taking about 90 days, some a little longer, some a little shorter. But at that pace, I was lucky to buy more than 3 houses a year. Now, I was in full-on mode. I had fully embraced the program. I was cash flowing, and let's go, go, go. I was also cash heavy because I'd cashed out that IRA I talked about earlier. I'd cashed out my other savings account. I was looking under every rock I had for money, and I had borrowed money from my 401k. So I was cash heavy, and I couldn't buy rent homes with leverage fast enough. Some of you out there are like, why didn't you just pay cash? That's a different show. We use leverage. Again, it maximizes our returns. Isn't it funny how your mindset can change 180 degrees in just a short amount of time? It's amazing what education and being effective will do for things. But with that in mind, I was in the process of finalizing a refi out of one of those properties into a conventional. I was coming out of the hard money into the conventional loan. A home popped up. It was a friend of mine was selling it, and I convinced him to sell it to me. And this was a perfect rent house. It didn't need anything. We were going to go straight into conventional. This was a 322 brick. It was in a neighborhood that I already had some other houses, and I told him, I said, sell it to me, okay? And he's like, well, I can sell it here and there. And so I had to act, and I essentially signed paperwork saying, I will buy your home. I entered into contract in a conventional deal when I still hadn't exited out of the other hard money contract. So I closed on the original home out of hard money. It's stabilized. It's got a resident, and was in the middle of the process of home number 2. To this day, it's the only home I've bought conventionally without hard money, but it didn't need it. I mean, this just needed a little touch-up paint, and it was good to go. So I closed on that home about 40 days later. Stabilized it, got a resident in, great house. Thought nothing of it. About 3 months later, I get a letter in the mail from the mortgage company saying, hey, you were not supposed to be in any other deals, any other closings when you entered into this closing. And they didn't say it as nice as that. They said, you owe me $112,000. We're done. You violated the agreement. It's kind of an exciting moment in my life. Picked up the phone, called my mortgage broker. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to refi to another mortgage company. Ultimately, it was no big deal. But it was serious downtime. It was another 40-plus days that I couldn't go buy another rental property. And it was about $4,200 out of pocket. So you had the cash mistake, but you really had the mistake of not being able to move forward. My mistake, I was too eager, I wasn't paying attention, and I was just go, go, go. Did it hurt at the time? Yes. In the overall huge scheme of things, not that big of a deal. Look, if my penalty to add another $500+ of tax-free income per month to the bottom line was only $4,200, I'd do it all again. So I learned from that. I didn't lose any sleep. I learned, and I sold that house 3 years later, again, to another Lifestyles Unlimited member. I made a nice return. Back to the first segment. What happened to all that I made off that house? That went into the house money, the cash flow snowball that I have. That money now resides comfortably in multifamily passive apartment communities. So, it was more of a hiccup, not necessarily a major mistake. Let's continue on. This one's a good one. I made the mistake of not scoping plumbing lines of homes that I purchased as rental properties. I was being cheap. It was a mistake because essentially I'd look at it, it seemed fine to me. Water pressure's fine. Let's move on. It's only a few $100. I could have had all the drain lines and sewer lines scoped. Well, this one bit me. Also, if I had scoped them at the time when I was in process of buying these and had found a line that was compromised, I could have negotiated that with the seller. I was looking at the process wrong. So yeah, one of my properties, we had a sewer line in one of the bathrooms. The toilet backed up. Not a pleasant experience for the resident. I was embarrassed. Remember, we want best product, best price. Well, this was a good one. We had to tear the toilet out, tear out my new tile floor, jackhammer through the foundation, fix the sewer pipe, and write a check for $8,500. Youch. That one hurt. My friends, this was a 37-year-old house, and I didn't inspect the doggone sewer lines. What a knucklehead. That was my mistake. That was my fault. Something I'll never do again. Definitely cost me. I feel bad for my resident because for a couple of weeks they had plumbers in there and jackhammer and everything else. I mean, we cleaned everything up. We made it right. But it was a mistake. What's another mistake? This one's my most costly. So when I came to Lifestyles Unlimited in 2013, I mentioned I had that IRA, a couple hundred in that. I had a 401k, a couple hundred in that, probably another 50 in various investments and savings that I was able to scratch up. But I didn't have the realization or the urgency to recognize the power of skipping the houses and going straight into the multifamily program. I could have done it. Now I would have had to take the money out of those funds, and keep in mind, that was my life for 20 plus years, was the IRA and the 401k. Looking back, I could have done it, and it would have been a game changer. Now, do I regret anything I've done? Not in any way, shape, or form. What was another problem back then? I was doing well in my corporate job. I was making good money. I still hadn't realized the concept that Dale says a large paycheck is not wealth. And it's not. A large paycheck's exactly that, a large paycheck. It can leave tomorrow. What's wealth is passive income, large passive income. But I was living in that what gets in the way of a great life, a good life. And I had a good life then. I couldn't see the forest for the trees. So I came into Lifestyles Unlimited and basically continued at the basic program, eventually moved up to the challenge program, but I stayed on that housing path for 5 years. And I could have gone straight into the multifamily path. The difference between the housing path and the multifamily path, let's just say you add another 0 to the return. I'm there now, and everything's A-okay. But my friends, I just didn't recognize it. I didn't see it. I didn't have the faith. I was living in a good life, and the good life was getting in the way of my great life. Those are some of the mistakes I've made. I hope I've helped some of you out there. My friends, this year's halfway over. I want to remind you again, you cannot save your way to financial freedom. Retirement is indeed a financial condition. It's not a bag of money. And life today is not getting cheaper. It's getting more expensive. You need to create additional cash flow now. And the sooner you understand that you need to create additional cash flow now, the sooner you recognize a different model, a model of creating house money that provides cash flow, that never gets spent, that's there to leave a legacy. The sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be financially, mentally, spiritually. Concentrate on what matters most: peace, love, joy, health, wealth, and happiness. And that's why we say it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. My name's Mike Harrison. Make it a great day.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.